Alright gamers, welcome back into the stream. Today I actually have a pretty specific plan of what I want to do. Obviously we just went through and we got all of our netherite armor complete, which is super nice. I don't have to worry about protection basically ever again at this point. There is nothing more powerful that I could be wearing than I am right now. Now that being said, it took a while to go get all the scrap we needed in the nether. And you'll notice that both of my pickaxes aren't doing so hot. So first of all, I'm tired of using the zombie spawner all the way to the bottom of the mine shaft. It's not efficient. It takes way too long to get XP. So that's kind of where we're going to bridge into today. I want to work on making a viable XP farm. And I know I don't really, need it for the sake of, gaining levels or anything. But what I do need it for is healing my tools. And I want to be able to do that quickly without having to actually worry about it. And so I've been talking about in the last few episodes how there were two different potential XP farms that I wanted to make. The first one being a guardian farm. And we do know where an ocean temple is. We cleared that 2 episodes ago at this point. So that's gonna be what we focus on today. It is gonna be, I gotta go collect a lot of materials to make it, but it's just a lot of one material, really. We need a fuck ton of sand. The process of draining an ocean monument is not exactly fun, and it is extremely time consuming. But that also means we need to go find a desert. Conveniently, when I was off camera a few streams back, I was looking around to see, I don't remember what I was looking for. I think I was looking for ice, and I never found it, but I found something else instead. I ended up finding a desert biome in this direction. I think northwest. If I go far enough northwest, there is actually a real desert biome out there, which I would love to put a nether portal down and connect that to the nether highway. I'll put the portal down today, but I won't actually connect it. I'll do that off camera on my own, just because that's not really worth having on camera at this point. But it'll be nice because I'll be able to go back to that desert easily when I need more sand or glass. The Guardian Farm design that we're going to use today is one that I've built numerous times with my friends. It might be the single most repetitive structure across all of our worlds that we've ever had. It's just a steadfast, good, reliable farm that we've continued to make for so long. I'm going to need probably, say, 2 shulker boxes worth of sand at the very, very minimum. I honestly don't think that's going to be enough. Yeah, see, there was a desert right here the whole time. And I spent a ton of time thinking that there wasn't anything over here. But lo and behold, there's a whole Badlands and a whole desert right here. Okay. Actually, I guess that's kind of within flying distance. I don't know. It's close enough, but also far enough. If I've got a portal over at the gunpowder farm, I might as well have one here. This is farther away than the gunpowder farm is from home, so... Okay. I'll add that to the nether highway system eventually, but that's really not a priority at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out some of these shulker boxes and just absolutely eviscerate this desert. We need glass and sand. We need both of them. We're also going to need the sponges that are in the ocean monument. And we'll need to go dry them out. We're going to be putting down a nether portal in the ocean temple as well, because we actually do have a practical purpose for that besides transportation. All of those sponges, if you put sponges down in the nether, and there are wet sponges, they actually dry out immediately, which is huge, because we're going to be using those a ton to actually go and drain the ocean monument. Really happy we have like full kitted out tools by this point, because honestly, just the harvesting the sand alone would be miserable otherwise. It's almost 1 shulker box worth. Yeah, I'm looking at this. It's probably gonna take closer to 4 if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Even that might be lowballing it just a little bit. Okay. That's 3 shulker boxes worth of sand right there. So I think I'm good with that for now. When that's inevitably not enough, because it never is, I'll come back here later, especially now that they've got a portal that's not hard to find either. I'm going to put a second portal down over by what will be our future Guardian farm, just so it's easy to get back and forth to the base from there. So it should be straight this way. And we should be able to go up into the ceiling right here. Yeah. Okay. There's home. We need to be heading towards the ocean monument, which is going to be this way. All right. And then what we're going to do first is we're going to put down sand on the entire perimeter of this thing. Because what we're going to do is we're going to make a ton of, like, pockets of the water in little 4x4 pockets. Just because that's basically kind of the optimal way as far as getting rid of the water is. You know, you don't want the pockets to be too big, or else your sponges aren't going to be able to absorb all the water and they'll just stay there. Did I miss a shulker box? I'm just now noticing that I've only got 2, so I need to see if the other one's in my ender chest or not. Oh, crap. One of the shulker boxes I think I left. Oh, no. Okay, it should be fine. It won't despawn as long as we're not over there. So I will head back that way after I run out of sand. But from here, it's just going to be us placing a lot of this. I got to get the entire perimeter of this thing done. And at the same time, I have to be avoiding the Guardians, which is going to suck. This process gets worse and worse and worse as we drain each pocket. And that happens because, you know, we're deleting the area that they can spawn in. So there's only a few places that they can actually spawn in. And it makes it so all of them are in those few pockets that are left. And that's actually the mechanic that we're going to be exploiting. When we drain this thing, we're going to build 2 giant tanks in the center. Those giant tanks, they're going to have bubble columns in them that force the Guardians up. And then they're going to take fall damage once they're pushed into a tube, just like a killing chamber. And they'll be really low, so we can just basically one-hit them by the time that they've fallen. I've made 2 different versions of this farm, but I think I'm going to make the second one. I make one where I tear down the entire structure in the center of it and then build the tubes. But what I like to do now is I actually like to keep the outside of the sea temple intact, just so you can tell that that's what it was at one point. I think it helps the farm to look cooler, but that means I also have to not, like, break the edges of the farm or the sea temple when I'm actually inside draining everything out. We will also need to go get the sponges, too, that are stuck in the sea temple. I gotta go find the sponge rooms, and now that, you know, the Elder Guardians are gone, it's gonna be a lot easier to do that without a threat. Crap. I hate these, the seaweed from 1.13 really creates a problem that didn't used to exist when it came to making this farm. Because the seaweed can actually spawn on top of the ocean temple, it means it creates a problem because I can't actually drop the sand down onto those specific blocks. Because it's like if you were to drop the dragon egg on the torch, you know, it'll actually just break the sand instead of the sand crushing the seaweed. This top corner will kind of be like our home base on this for now, up until we actually get the structure done. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and build another nether portal just so it's easier to get back and forth for the time being, at least. There it is. That's so weird. I thought I got all of them, but I guess I didn't. You know what? Actually, what I'm going to do is before I keep working on this, I'm going to actually go and delete all of the seaweed on the perimeter of this just so I don't have to worry about it as I'm placing sand. I've got respiration and aqua affinity, so doing this shouldn't be too terribly hard. This wall in particular takes a lot longer to make than the other three do. Not that the other three take a short amount of time to build, but this is just because, you know, it's got this gap in the front of it that makes, you know, the top to the bottom a lot deeper. On all the other three sides, it's exactly the same all the way around. So those don't take nearly as long to build, but I gotta go all the way to the ocean floor for the very front of this, unfortunately. And it looks like I left a piece of seaweed here. Of course I did. So I've just wasted a bunch of time building what is essentially nothing just then. That's why all the sand right here is floating. Well, okay, that's one wall done, and that was the hardest wall. So from here it'll get a little bit faster to do, but not that much. I mean, even just having the perimeter done though, like it's a step, but it's really not like anything crazy because we basically, you know, we have to make these 4x4 pockets, and it's a fucking bitch to do. It's not easy to do in the slightest, and it's just gonna be a process. I don't know how much sand is left in the shulker boxes because I've still got this one in my inventory I haven't touched. I probably used close to one shulker box to make the first wall. So, let's see. Okay, maybe I didn't use as much as I thought. But I do think we're going to need more sand than what we have right now, because we got to make these walls on the inside of it as well to create the pockets. But I do think we're going to need more sand than we actually have at the moment. All right, that's wall 2 out of 4. So I got to do that 2 more times, and then that's the whole perimeter, which is a task on its own, but this might be the most tedious farm that I will have built to date. Like, honestly, the gunpowder farm, yes, I made mine enclosed, but that design is not supposed to be enclosed typically. I just like the way it looks better when it is enclosed. And, well, this is the only one that you can't, like, half-ass. Like, the reason that the gunpowder farm is designed like that is because it's easy. You know, it actually did not take me anywhere. Like, I could have been pretty close with the actual farm bit of the gunpowder farm being done by this point already. And I haven't even touched the farm piece of this. This is just the draining process. Like, this on its own is probably equivalent to 3 entire gunpowder farm builds. Now, one of the cool things about this build is that all of the guardians, actually, it's a very strict rule with how they spawn. They can only spawn in the perimeter of the sea temple, which is one of the main reasons we're doing it like this. They can't spawn anywhere outside of it, even though there's water there. And it's very, very easy to manipulate guardians into spawning the way you want them to because of that. Alright, that's 3 out of 4, 1 more to go. Structure's a lot more obvious when there's a giant wall of sand around it in the middle of the ocean. At least when it comes to finding it. Well, this is beginning to shock me, but it looks like I got just exactly enough sand for the perimeter. I just grabbed the last of the sand out of the shulker boxes. I used all 3 of them, and it's going to be a little bit... we're going to have a little bit more sand than exactly the perimeter of the walls, which is super funny, because that means that the perimeter of this, or 4 walls, is about equivalent to 3 shulker boxes worth of sand. Knowing that, that means that we're gonna need a fuck ton more sand. Because we gotta make every 4 blocks we gotta put down on another of those walls. Now that being said, they actually aren't gonna be as bad, because, you know, the thing is like a pyramid. It moves up towards the middle. So as we get closer to the middle, we're gonna have fewer blocks that we have to actually place. So the closer we get to the middle, the less time we'll have to actually work on building. That being said, I'm just gonna like build one of these pockets so you guys can kind of see. I'm gonna establish where the boundaries of these are and how this is gonna look. Yeah, I'm not gonna have enough sand to make a full pocket, but I'm gonna take a break here in a minute just because I've been going at this for an hour and a half, just placing sand basically. Each one of the pockets are gonna be a square that's this big, and I gotta do that over and over again for the entire area of this structure, which sucks to do on so many levels, but once it's done, it's so worth it. We have actually made a very large amount of progress today so far, though. Alright, well, it's a completely different day now, if it wasn't obvious. So off camera, just a little bit, I chose to do some more sand mining, just because it didn't make sense to, like, do that on camera again. So I got another 3 shulker boxes ready. Hopefully this is enough to finish up the pits, but then I gotta go ahead and drain it. I've also made another new decision. I've decided that we're gonna play with some lower end shaders from here on out, just so my computer doesn't like get super upset. But this is one of my favorite ones. This is a Seuss Renewed. It's a little bit older and it might have some glitches nowadays, but it's still working for the most part. Oh, I should also mention that I, off camera, also completed the nether tunnel. I need to go do, you know, the ice in the newer sections, but now it's easy to get back and forth between the Guardian farm and the desert for when I need more sand. That being said, I also, this is the, right here, this is, the gunpowder farm. So that portal had to be moved to the side just a little bit in order for this path to work better for the Guardian farm. Alright, wow. Things look quite a bit different out here with shaders. It's been a minute since I've actually played with them. I typically, when I'm not recording, I'll play with them offline, just because, you know, I don't have to worry about my recording software at the same time. But, man, is this quite a bit different. Yeah, see, now that they can't, like, spread out, they're, like, spawning everywhere. I actually should probably go ahead and swap this back out. Once you actually get into the perimeter and you start, like, building in more of the sand, that's when things start to get especially annoying. So that's the size of one pit, and we have to do that for every bit of the area of this. So it's gonna take a while, and then we'll have to drain each pit out individually. The reason we chose sand for this and not just like another block is because after it's been drained, it makes it especially easy to go and remove the sand after the fact. We do that by getting rid of it with torches. So like if you were to get rid of it like the dragon egg in the end, if you put a torch under the sand, it breaks all of the sand and turns back into an item. You can see that these walls aren't taking nearly as long to put up though, and that's because as we get closer to the center of this thing, there's the top of the pyramid is closer to the surface, so I don't have to place as much sand to create a pit. One of the things that sucks about Guardians, though, is that they're smart enough to know that once you've, like, blocked off their eyesight, they'll actually make an effort to change where they're at, so they can hit you better. It's extremely annoying. I'd like to be able to take them out, but they just keep coming back. There will be times when I turn shaders off, because sometimes it makes it way more difficult to see, especially when it comes to darker areas. So I won't have it on all the time, but I think for the vast majority of the playthrough here on out, it's gonna be shaders. That looks a little bit bugged. I'm sure that'll be fixed eventually, but oof, that's not the best. So that's a whole row done, and this is actually possible to drain, but I'm gonna go ahead, well, it's a little bit bigger. This doesn't have to be exactly 4x4 squares like this, so I think I'm just gonna leave this one as is. I can deal with that one on a more specific basis later, but that, I need to repeat this all the way down to the other side. So that's a pretty good amount of progress I've made thus far. Our house looks quite a bit different with shaders on, but honestly, cool as shit. I love the way that stained glass looks coming through this. Now, one of the actually side benefits that I've forgotten to mention is Guardian Farm, as a byproduct, also produces cod. Like, a lot of it. Which means that I won't ever really have to manually farm again. I could probably also then go and hook it up to an auto smelter. I'm not really gonna have to do that though, because with the way the farm is designed, the Guardians are taken out of the water, which means that they're able to be burned. And when they burn, the fish that they drop are also cooked as a result. So I'll have an infinite, basically, supply of cooked fish without even having to go and cook them myself. My sword is going to be doing basically all of the work for me. So it'll be nice to like not have to worry about food basically ever again. But yeah, I'll still be moving all of my potatoes and stuff to like down there. Actually, really, I don't think I've ever looked at this area with shaders on before. I really like the way that it's all coming together now that I see it with shaders. I mean, shaders was just meant for Minecraft. Like, come on, let's take a quick look. Our whole area looks great. I mean, wow. This isn't even that high end of a shader pack, but wow. Now, some of the sand can get reclaimed. I could actually start draining out some of these pits already and then reclaim the sand from between them, but it's really not worth doing that until more of the pits adjacent to them have been cleared out. It's definitely the most damage I've taken making a farm. Like, because the Guardians are hitting me, I'll have to, once these pits are empty, I'll have to like fall down into them. I'll probably take a bunch of elytra damage from that as well. All right, that's another entire wall down. That one didn't take nearly as long as to make as the outer ones. So now I gotta work on putting the pits in. And then from there, it's just a repetitive process. This would be a lot more difficult to do without respiration and aqua affinity. That's something that a lot of people take for granted, is when you're building structures like underwater like this, especially to this degree, aqua affinity and respiration are unmatched in how much they help. Depth Strider is an obvious one, but honestly, it wouldn't be nearly as effective without it. Like, I'd probably have to have water breathing potions and take time to like heal. I do still have some extra water breathing potions left over, but I'm gonna save those for when I actually have to drain out the thing. What I do is we typically tear down the structure when we make this, but I want to keep it this time. So I'm gonna need to be like in it for a while. So I'm actually gonna use those water breathing potions I made a while ago, draining it. I'm just now noticing that there's phantoms here, which makes sense. It's been a while since I've slept, so I'm gonna need to go back home and deal with that. All right, that's another set of pockets done. Oh man, okay. Now we gotta get closer to the center, which will take less time. But I gotta face off against the Guardians again, which sucks. I need to also go find the sponge rooms, and I need to go grab those and dry them out. Because without those, this process is not gonna be possible at all. The grid we're making right now is designed specifically for sponges to be used with. I may have to start draining some of the pits early so I can reclaim the sand and see where that gets me to. But honestly, I thought this was going to get us a lot farther than it is, because that's already 2 shulker boxes down, and it's only uh, 3 rows of pits. All right, well, that's another set of pits done. So I think what I might do is I might change focus here, because you'll notice here that these are completely surrounded, right? If I drain these pits, I can reclaim all of this sand in the middle. I don't necessarily want to have to go back if I don't have to the desert. So what I might do now is switch focus to going and grabbing the sponges so I can drain these pits and then remove the sand so I can reclaim it and then make more of the pits. So I'm going to go eat something in real life because I'm kind of hungry at the moment. And then I will come back to this in a little bit.